Welcome back to Revise and Resubmit, and welcome to another weekend book review. I'm Pavlov.
And I'm Nikita.
We've noticed a lot of you are tuning in, which is amazing, but I haven't quite hit that subscribe button yet.
Yeah, and that little button, honestly, it's so small, but it makes such a huge difference in helping us reach more people with these important discussions.
Right. It's true. Like the algorithms, those mysterious forces that decide what we all see and hear, they pay a lot of attention to subscriber numbers.
Yeah, think of it like the subscribing. It's like casting a vote for quality content, So these insightful research discussions don't just get lost in the sea of all the information out there.
More subscribers equals more visibility. Right. And that means more resources for us to make even deeper dives for you.
Yeah.
Maybe bring in experts for interviews, even do some live Q&A sessions where you can jump in.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about building a community around research,
Yeah.
where curiosity thrives and knowledge is like shared and debated.
Today we're going to be looking at Twitch.
Okay.
But we're not talking about the big names, the huge stars.
Right.
We are diving into the world of microstreamers.
Interesting.
These are the folks who, haven't quite hit that jackpot of fame and fortune.
Yeah.
To guide us, we've got some excerpts from Twitch Systems.
Okay.
The Political Economy of a Platform, a book by Mayukh Consalvo and Marc Moore.
Sounds good.
So are you ready to kind of explore this often overlooked corner of the internet?
Absolutely. I think it's a really fascinating world. We're so used to the narrative of the superstar streamer,
Right.
But the reality is that most people on Twitch are just, trying to have fun. They're trying to connect with others and share their love of gaming.
Yeah, and that's what I think is so intriguing to me. It's like, if it's not about, the big bucks or becoming the next ninja, what is the motivation?
Right.
The book actually talks about streaming as a leisure activity, which is kind of a mind shift.
Yeah, it is. It really challenges how we typically view streaming, which is often through the lens of work and hustle. But for a lot of these micro streamers, it's more about pursuing a passion. It's like a hobby, but in a very public digital space.
Yeah, I like that. So it's not like a typical 9-to-5 grind.
Yeah.
But the book also mentions there's like two types of leisure.
Yes.
Casual and serious.
Yes.
Can you break that down a little?
Yeah. So think of it this way. Casual leisure is like grabbing coffee with a friend. It's enjoyable, but it doesn't require, a ton of effort. And then you have serious leisure, where there's a much deeper level of commitment. It's almost like mastering a skill.
Okay, I see. So some micro streamers are kind of in it for a relaxed hangout vibe.
Yeah.
Whereas others are really dedicated to building something.
Yeah.
Like Ryan Markle, who the book mentions. He was streaming Destiny 2 with his son to connect with him and teach him about online safety.
Yeah.
That seems like a pretty serious approach.
Absolutely. And the authors call this purposive streaming. It's about using Twitch to achieve goals beyond the platform itself.
That's interesting.
So for Ryan, it's about family and values. But for others, it might be about showcasing their art or even advocating for a cause.
Wow, that's really cool. So they're using it for something bigger than themselves. But even with all these varied goals, everyone on Twitch has to kind of play by the rules of the game, right?
Yeah.
And I've heard it's not easy to get noticed.
Right.
Especially if you're not, chasing those coveted partnerships.
It's incredibly competitive. And that's where the idea of the meta stream comes in.
Oh, this is where it gets juicy.
Yeah.
Tell me more about this meta stream.
Well, the meta stream is really all about understanding the unwritten rules of Twitch.
Okay.
So it's everything from choosing the right game to attract viewers, to developing a really unique on-screen persona, to even mastering the art of chat interaction. It's a whole other layer of strategy on top of it.
So you're not just good at the game you're streaming. You have to be good at playing Twitch itself.
Yeah.
Like Ogmas, who the book mentions. He was obsessed with getting his stream set up just right, even though he wasn't pulling in huge numbers.
Right.
It seems like a prime example of that meta-stream dedication.
Absolutely. Microstreamers often don't have the same resources as the big players, so they have to be extra resourceful and strategic. They're constantly tweaking, learning, and experimenting just to find what works.
Makes sense. Speaking of finding what works, one thing that stood out to me in the book was this whole emphasis on authenticity.
Yeah.
It seems like everyone on Twitch, big or small, they're trying to figure out how to come across as real.
Right.
What are some of the ways microstreamers approach this?
Well, it's tricky, right? Because on a platform like Twitch, everything is a performance to some degree. But there are different approaches. Some embrace the emotional outbursts. They're showing their raw reactions, in the moment. Others focus on handling failures really gracefully. to kind of highlight their human side.
Like when Geek Gamer Girl had that emotional breakdown on stream.
Yeah.
The book talked about how that sparked a whole debate about whether it was genuine or just for show.
It's a great example of how complex this idea of authenticity is on Twitch. It makes you wonder, can you ever truly be yourself when you're constantly aware of an audience?
Right. It's almost like a paradox. The more you try to be authentic, the more it can feel like you're acting.
Yeah.
But viewers crave that connection.
They do.
So streamers have to walk this fine line.
Absolutely.
Between being entertaining and being genuine.
It's a balancing act that every streamer has to navigate, especially those who haven't yet built up a huge following. It's about finding that sweet spot where you can be yourself without compromising your values or even your mental health.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And that leads us to another crucial aspect of microstreaming, building a community. We'll dive into that right after this.
Sounds good. We were just talking about this whole balancing act between authenticity and entertainment for streamers, especially, those starting out. But beyond that, the book really emphasizes how vital building a community is for these micro streamers. How do they actually go about doing that?
Well, it's all about fostering those connections, creating a space where viewers feel welcome and engaged. And a lot of it comes down to the little things, using inclusive language, actively chatting with viewers, remembering names and details. It's almost like being the host of a really awesome virtual party.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Making people feel seen and heard, even in this fast-paced chat environment, can make a huge difference. It's like that warm feeling you get when you walk into your favorite bookstore.
Yeah.
And the owner remembers your name and your favorite genre.
Exactly. But just like any community, there are challenges.
Right.
Micro streamers have to learn to deal with negativity. They have to set boundaries and even handle, trolls, all while protecting their own well-being. It's a tightrope walk, finding that balance between being approachable and maintaining some control.
So it sounds like a lot to juggle, especially for someone just starting out. But ultimately, it's about building a community that reflects the streamer's personality and values right.
You hit the nail on the head. It's about creating a space where both the streamer and the viewers feel like they belong, where they can be themselves without fear of judgment or harassment.
Which kind of brings us to a less pleasant aspect of the online world: harassment. The book shares some pretty disturbing stories from marginalized streamers who face abuse. Despite having relatively small audiences, it's kind of a stark reminder that these issues exist, even in these niche communities, like microstreaming.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking. Really, the book highlights the experiences of Black Oni and Proto-Magical Girl, who are targeted just for being who they are. It's a reminder that platforms like Twitch had a responsibility to protect their users, especially those who are most vulnerable.
Yeah, and it's frustrating to hear that Twitch's efforts to address harassment haven't been as effective as they could be.
Right.
It's a complex issue, no doubt, but it feels like more needs to be done to create a truly safe and inclusive space for everyone.
I agree. We can't just sweep these issues under the rug. It's crucial to have open conversations about online harassment, to hold platforms accountable, and to support marginalized streamers who are facing abuse.
Well said. Okay, let's shift gears a bit and talk about the strategic side of things. The book delves into this concept of the Twitch metagame, which I found really interesting. Can you unpack that a little for us?
It's a fascinating concept, isn't it? Just like any game there are strategies and considerations that can help you succeed on Twitch. And the metagame refers to, understanding those unwritten rules, the algorithms, the audience expectations, and using that knowledge to your advantage.
So it's not just about being entertaining or skilled at the game itself. It's about playing the game of Twitch, understanding how to stand out, how to engage viewers, how to work within the system.
The book is a great example. They analyze Sea of Thieves and Far Cry 5 release streams. And what they found was that stream quality, like having fancy graphics or a really professional setup, didn't always translate into higher viewership.
So it's not just about the best equipment or the most polished presentation.
Right, it's about connecting with your audience, finding your niche, and creating content that really resonates, understanding what viewers want, and finding those creative ways to deliver it.
It's almost like a form of theory crafting for Twitch, like those dedicated gamers who meticulously analyze game mechanics to find the optimal strategies. Microstreamers are doing the same thing, but for the platform itself.
That's a great comparison. They're studying the algorithms. They're experimenting with different approaches and even sharing those findings with each other to kind of crack the code of Twitch success.
But even with all this strategic thinking, The book makes it clear that there's a ton of behind-the-scenes effort involved in streaming. Even for those who aren't, chasing fame and fortune, it's not just about turning on the camera and playing games, is it?
Not at all. What people see on screen is just the tip of the iceberg. Behind the scenes, microstreamers are managing their channels, they're networking on social media, they're troubleshooting technical issues, they're constantly learning new skills, and they're really pouring their heart and soul into creating content that they're proud of.
It's like running your own mini-media empire. It makes you wonder, if microstreamers are putting in all this work without the expectation of significant financial return, what does that say about the changing nature of work and leisure in the digital age? Are we seeing the rise of a new kind of work, one driven by passion and community, rather than traditional financial incentives?
That's a big question, and one that researchers are still grappling with. It's fascinating to think about how microstreamers are potentially pioneering a new way of working, one that blurs the lines between hobby and profession, passion and profit.
And the book highlights how this behind-the-scenes work often goes unseen and unaccounted for. It's easy to forget, the hours spent planning, learning, connecting, when all we see is the final product.
It's true. And it's important to recognize and value that effort, to understand that even those who aren't making a fortune from streaming are still investing a significant amount of time, energy, and creativity into their work.
We've been talking about all these microstreamers, creating content, building these communities, sharing their love of gaming without, the promise of fame and fortune. It's inspiring, but it also makes you wonder, what does the future hold for them?
It is a question worth pondering. Can this model of streaming, fueled by passion and community, rather than, big paychecks, actually be sustained? Especially on a platform like Twitch, which is known for, its fierce competition and algorithm-driven discovery.
Right. It's easy to feel like they're swimming upstream, battling against the currents of this increasingly commercialized internet.
Yeah.
But then again, we've seen how resourceful and resilient these microstreamers are. They're constantly adapting, innovating, finding ways to connect with their audience.
They are remarkable. I mean, think about it. They're not just playing games. They're managing their channels. They're building communities, troubleshooting technical issues, learning new skills. It's like running a small business, all while staying true to their creative vision.
Yeah, and they're doing it because they love it, not just for, the potential financial rewards. It's a testament to the power of passion and the human desire to connect and create, even in the face of challenges.
It's what makes this whole phenomenon so fascinating. It challenges, our traditional notions of work and success. What if microstreamers are actually the pioneers of a new kind of work, one that's driven by passion, authenticity, and a genuine desire to build something meaningful?
Right. It's like they're paving the way for a future where work isn't just about earning a paycheck. It's about pursuing your passions, connecting with like-minded people, and making a positive impact on the world, even in small ways.
That's a powerful idea. And maybe, just maybe, it's a future we can all aspire to, a future where we're not just consuming content, we're actively creating it, sharing it, building communities around the things that we care about.
I like that. The book talks about how microstreamers are challenging the status quo, redefining what it means to be successful on Twitch. They're not necessarily chasing partnerships or big money sponsorships. They're finding their own path, building communities based on shared interests and genuine connection.
And they're proving that you don't need millions of viewers to make a difference. Even a small, dedicated community can be incredibly powerful, especially when it's built on a foundation of shared values and mutual support.
It's almost like they're creating these little pockets of positivity in a digital world that can often feel overwhelming and impersonal. It's a reminder that the internet, for all its flaws, can still be a place where genuine connection and human kindness can flourish.
Absolutely. And it's something worth celebrating. The world of microstreaming is a testament to the enduring power of human connection and creativity, and the simple joy of sharing your passions with others.
Well said. So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one thing you hope our listeners take away from our conversation?
I hope they come away with a newfound appreciation for the microstreamers out there, the ones who are pouring their hearts and souls into creating content, building communities, and making the internet a little bit brighter, one stream at a time.
Beautifully said. And maybe, just maybe, they'll be inspired to find their own creative outlet, their own community, their own way to share their passions with the world, even if it's just in a small way.
That would be amazing. Because in the end, isn't that what it's all about? Finding our tribe. connecting with others, making the world a little bit more human, one interaction, one creation, one stream at a time.
I couldn't agree more. A huge thanks to Mayukh Consalvo and Marc Moore for their insightful book, Twitch Systems, The Political Economy of a Platform. It's given us a lot to think about. And to all the micro streamers out there, keep doing what you do. You're making the internet a better place. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time for another deep dive. And don't forget to subscribe to Revise and Resubmit on Spotify and Apple Podcasts for more captivating deep dives like this one. And if you're enjoying the show and want to support us in creating more insightful content, consider becoming a patron on Patreon. Every contribution helps us continue this journey of exploration and discovery. Until next time, keep those minds curious, keep questioning, and keep revising and resubmitting.